His wife had been dead for 2 years, but when his son saw the new maid and screamed "Mama," the millionaire's engagement party froze, and the truth that followed destroyed his family. Hey there, pour a cup of tea, get comfy, and let your heart listen. The story's about to start. Welcome to Tales Vibe, where laughter and lessons flow together. If you love a good story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more tales every week, and please tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to know where our story family is tuning in from. Daniel was the kind of man people pointed at when they talked about success in Abuja. He built businesses from nothing. He owned houses, cars, and influence. People respected him. Some feared him. Many admired him. But behind all that success was a quiet pain Daniel never spoke about. 2 years earlier, his wife Linda died suddenly. She was gentle, patient, and full of love. Her death broke Daniel in ways money could not fix. For months, he buried himself in work. Meetings replaced meals. Travel replaced sleep. Grief followed him everywhere, but he refused to face it. In the middle of that pain was his son, Ethan. Ethan was just a baby when his mother died. Daniel loved his son, but he did not know how to be present. He believed providing money was enough. So he hired staff, caregivers, nannies, people to fill the gap he could not face. Daniel's mother helped him run the house. She believed emotions made people weak. She believed staff should know their place. She believed children should not grow too attached to workers. Daniel did not argue. At that time, he did not care. As months passed, Daniel slowly started healing. He wanted a fresh start. He wanted order again. That was when Grace entered his life. Grace was confident, polished, and admired by everyone. She knew how to speak well. She knew how to act right. She fit perfectly into Daniel's world. Friends approved. Family approved. Everything made sense on the outside. Grace was not cruel. She was just distant. She believed emotions should be controlled. She believed the past should stay buried. She believed love must have limits. Daniel told himself this was maturity. When Daniel decided to propose, people celebrated. They said he deserved happiness again. They said his life was finally complete. But there was one person no one asked. Ethan. Ethan was 2 years old. He was quiet, observant, and sensitive. He noticed things adults ignored. He remembered voices. He remembered songs. He remembered arms that once held him when his father was absent. On the day of the engagement gathering, Daniel looked around and felt proud. He believed he had fixed everything. His life looked perfect again. He did not know that one small voice was about to undo the lies everyone had accepted. He did not know that a child's memory would expose a truth buried for too long. And he did not know that love, once rejected, always finds a way back. Daniel was still standing in that moment of quiet pride, believing everything was finally in place. He felt like a man who had survived a storm and reached the other side. Nothing seemed out of control anymore. Then Ethan moved. At first, it was small. A shift in his body. A sudden stiffness. Daniel noticed his son's face change. The calm look disappeared. Ethan's eyes fixed on someone behind Daniel. Before anyone could react, Ethan cried out. It was not the normal cry of a tired child. It was sharp, urgent, full of emotion. He stretched out his hands and screamed as tears rushed down his face. "Mama!" The sound cut through every conversation. Laughter stopped. Voices dropped. All eyes turned toward the child. Grace froze. Her smile stayed on her face, but her eyes darkened. She leaned toward Daniel and asked why the boy was behaving that way. Daniel did not answer. He was too busy trying to understand what he was seeing. Ethan twisted in his arms, fighting to get free. He kept reaching forward, crying the same word again and again. "Mama! Mama!" Daniel followed his son's gaze. That was when he saw her. A young woman stood quietly near the entrance, dressed as a house help. Her name tag read Mary. She looked just as shocked as everyone else. Her hands trembled slightly, and her eyes filled with tears she tried to hold back. Ethan saw none of the confusion around him. He only saw her. Daniel bent down, trying to calm his son. He told Ethan softly that everything was fine. But Ethan refused to listen. He cried harder, his small body shaking with emotion. Grace whispered sharply that people were watching. She said the situation was embarrassing. She asked Daniel to fix it quickly. Daniel signaled for one of the staff to take the woman away. But as Mary turned slightly, Ethan screamed louder. He struggled with surprising strength for a child his age. "No," he cried. "Mama." Something inside Daniel shifted. He had seen his son cry before. But never like this. This was not fear. This was not tantrum. This was recognition. Daniel looked at Mary again. Their eyes met briefly. In that moment, Daniel saw something that made his chest tighten. Mary was not smiling. She was not confused. She looked heartbroken. Tears rolled freely down her face as she stared at Ethan. She whispered his name without realizing it. That was when Daniel knew this was not a mistake. This cry was carrying a story buried in silence, a story no one was ready to hear. And Daniel realized, too late, that the life he thought was perfect was standing on a truth he never bothered to question. Daniel stood frozen, his mind racing as Ethan's cries filled the room. Every sound felt heavier now. Every face seemed turned toward him. He felt exposed, like something private had been dragged into the open. Grace was the first to recover. She stepped closer to Daniel, her voice low but sharp. She asked why a house help would make a child behave that way. She said people were beginning to whisper. She reminded him that this was meant to be a joyful moment. Daniel tried to focus on his son. He held Ethan tighter, hoping comfort would calm him. But the boy pushed against his chest, reaching again for Mary. His small hands shook as he cried. The word mama came out broken now, mixed with sobs. Daniel felt irritation rise in his chest. Not at Ethan, but at the situation. At the eyes watching. At the confusion he did not understand. He looked at Mary again. She stood still, unsure whether to move or stay. Her face showed fear, sorrow, and something deeper Daniel could not name. She looked like someone who had walked into the wrong place at the wrong time. Grace crossed her arms. She asked Daniel why the staff was allowed to cause such a scene. She said this kind of attachment was unhealthy. She said workers sometimes confused their role. The words cut deeper than she knew. Daniel felt anger rise. Anger at the woman standing there. Anger at himself for losing control. Anger at his son for embarrassing him, even though he hated that thought the moment it formed. He waved to the house manager. He asked that Mary be taken away immediately. He said it firmly, almost harshly. The manager stepped forward and reached for Mary's arm. The moment Mary turned to leave, Ethan screamed louder than before. His cries turned desperate. His body shook violently as he struggled free from Daniel's grip. "No go!" Ethan cried. "Mama, stay!" The sound hit Daniel hard. Shame rushed through him. This was not just a cry anymore. This was pain. Daniel looked around. Some guests avoided his eyes. Others watched closely, curious and uneasy. Grace's face was tight with embarrassment. Daniel felt torn. Part of him wanted the moment to end, to return to order, to pretend this never happened. But another part of him, the part he had ignored for too long, felt something else. Guilt. He looked at Mary again. She was crying openly now, her hands shaking. She had not defended herself. She had not spoken. She only looked at Ethan with a kind of love Daniel could not deny. Daniel raised his hand. He told the manager to stop. The room went quiet again. Daniel swallowed hard. He realized this was no longer about pride or appearances. Whatever was happening here had roots in the past. And for the first time, Daniel understood that anger and shame were easier to carry than truth. But the truth was already standing in front of him. The silence after Daniel stopped the manager felt heavier than the noise before. Ethan's crying softened, but he still reached for Mary, his small fingers stretching toward her like he was afraid she would disappear. Daniel took a slow breath. He lowered himself slightly so he could look at Mary properly. Not as staff, not as a problem to be removed, but as a person standing in the middle of his confusion. He asked her a simple question. "Do you know my son?" Mary's lips trembled. For a moment, she said nothing. Her eyes moved from Daniel to Ethan and back again. Then she nodded slowly. "Yes," she said quietly. The word landed heavily. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He asked how she knew him. He asked why Ethan was calling her mama. His voice was firm, but there was no anger in it now. Mary wiped her tears with the back of her hand. She took a careful step forward, stopping at a respectful distance. She said her name was Mary. She said she was not a stranger to the house. She said she had been there before, long ago, but not in the way people thought. Daniel listened. She explained that her sister, Anna, had once worked in the house as Ethan's nanny. This was during the time Daniel was rarely home. During the time grief ruled his life. Mary spoke slowly, choosing her words. She said Anna was the one who fed Ethan. She was the one who carried him when he cried. She was the one who stayed awake at night when he could not sleep. Daniel's mind went back. A face formed in his memory. A gentle voice. A presence he barely noticed back then. Mary continued. She said Ethan was very small at the time. But children remember love, even when adults forget. She said Anna treated Ethan like her own child, not because she was paid to, but because she cared. Ethan tugged at Daniel's shirt and looked up at him. Lena, he said softly. The name hit Daniel like a blow. That was it. That was the name. Anna had been called Lena by the staff. Daniel's heart began to pound. He remembered the sudden change. The day Anna was gone. The explanation that she had left quietly. The way he never asked questions. Mary's voice shook now. She said Anna never left on her own. She said her sister loved Ethan too much to walk away. Daniel felt the past pressing in on him. He looked at his mother across the room. Her face was calm, but her eyes avoided his. Daniel understood then. This was not a stranger standing before him. This was a piece of his past he allowed to be erased. And now, that past had returned, wearing a uniform, answering to a name, and being recognized by a child who never forgot. Daniel's eyes did not leave his mother. The memories of Anna and Lena grew clearer now. The soft voice. The calm presence around his son. The way Ethan had once settled easily in her arms. Daniel turned back to Mary. He asked the question slowly, even though part of him already knew the answer. Why did she leave? Mary took a deep breath. Her shoulders tightened as if preparing for pain she had carried for too long. She did not leave, Mary said. She was sent away. The words dropped heavily. Daniel felt something cold spread through his chest. He turned fully toward his mother now. She met his eyes without fear. Her face was composed, controlled. Daniel asked if it was true. He asked if she had dismissed Anna. His mother answered calmly. She said she made a decision for the good of the family. She said Anna had crossed boundaries. She said staff should not behave like family. Each word cut deeper. Mary continued speaking, her voice steadier now. She said Anna was warned first. She was told to stop showing affection, to stop holding Ethan so closely, to stop acting like his mother. But Anna could not. She loved the child. Mary said the final decision came suddenly. One morning, Anna was told to leave. No farewell. No explanation to the child. No chance to say goodbye. Daniel's breath grew heavy. He remembered that time now. He remembered returning from a trip and noticing change. Ethan cried more. The house felt colder. But he had ignored it. Grace stepped forward then. She said it was the right decision. She said workers must know their place. She said attachment causes confusion. Her words made Daniel's stomach turn. Mary looked at Grace briefly, then back at Daniel. She said Anna went home heartbroken. She said losing Ethan felt like losing her own child. She said Anna cried for days. Daniel clenched his jaw. He realized something painful. While he was chasing success and pretending to heal, someone else was loving his son in the way he could not. And that love was punished. Daniel looked at Ethan, who had gone quiet. The child watched the adults closely, sensing the weight in the air. Daniel felt shame burn inside him. This decision was not just cruel. It was careless. And he allowed it. For the first time, Daniel did not feel angry at the scene. He felt angry at himself. And deep inside, he knew this story was far from over. Daniel was still trying to process everything when Mary spoke again. Her voice softened, but the pain in it deepened. She said the story did not end with Anna leaving the house. Daniel looked at her, bracing himself. Mary explained that after Anna was dismissed, her life slowly fell apart. She missed Ethan deeply. She talked about him often. She worried about who would hold him when he cried. She wondered if he would forget her. Then Anna fell sick. At first, she hid it. She did not want pity. She believed she would recover. But the sickness stayed. It grew worse. Mary paused, swallowing hard. She said Anna was diagnosed late. By the time they understood how serious it was, there was little time left. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Mary said Anna spoke about Ethan until the very end. She worried about him more than herself. She said she did not regret loving him. She only regretted being taken away without saying goodbye. Before Anna died, she made Mary promise something. She asked Mary to check on Ethan, to see if he was okay, to tell him that she never stopped loving him. Mary's voice broke. She said she tried. She came to the house once. Security turned her away. She called. No one responded. She waited. She tried again. Still nothing. Daniel lowered his head. Mary continued. She said that was when she decided to apply for work in the house. She used another name. She did not come for money. She did not come to cause trouble. She came to keep a promise. Mary looked at Ethan now. She said she only wanted to see him once. To know he was safe. To tell him, in any way possible, that Anna remembered him. Ethan reached toward her again, quieter this time. "Lena," he whispered. Mary nodded, tears rolling down her face. Daniel felt something break inside him. This was not obsession. This was love that refused to die quietly. Grace scoffed softly. She said the story was emotional but inappropriate. She said boundaries mattered. Daniel did not answer her. He was staring at Mary, at the woman who carried her sister's love into a place that rejected it. Daniel realized then that this woman was not standing before him by accident. She was there because love does not forget, and promises made from the heart do not fade. As Daniel stood there listening to Mary, he knew one thing clearly. Whatever happened next would change his life forever. Daniel stood silently, watching Mary kneel slightly to meet Ethan's eyes. The boy's small hands rested on her arms, his tears slowing but his gaze fixed. Something in Ethan's face made Daniel pause. It was recognition. Pure, unshakable recognition. Then Ethan spoke. "Sing Moon's song," he whispered, his voice small but firm. Daniel's chest tightened. He remembered the song. The soft melody that had once floated through the house. The lullaby Anna used to sing. He had heard it countless times but never realized its meaning. Never noticed the love it carried. Mary looked at Ethan and nodded slowly. She began to hum softly. Then she sang. The words were simple, but each note carried warmth. Ethan's face lit up. His cries stopped completely. He leaned closer to her, resting his tiny head against her shoulder, listening as if the song carried all the comfort he had ever known. Daniel felt a lump form in his throat. It was the first time he truly heard the love his son had known in the months he had been absent. The love he had ignored. The love he had allowed his pride and grief to erase. He remembered Anna now. Her gentle voice in the quiet nights. Her patience when Ethan refused to sleep. Her kindness when he cried for his mother. The way she had loved him as her own. And now, through Mary, that love returned. It was not erased. It had never left. Grace stepped forward, trying to pull Daniel's attention back to the present. "This is absurd," she whispered sharply. "This is a servant making drama in the middle of our engagement celebration." Daniel barely heard her. His eyes were on Ethan, who was no longer crying. His small face was calm, filled with trust and joy. He smiled as the lullaby continued. And Daniel realized the truth his son had known all along. Love cannot be ignored, dismissed, or replaced by money or status. Ethan lifted his head and looked at Daniel. "Daddy, Lena, sing me," he said clearly, his words precise for a 2-year-old. Daniel swallowed hard. He turned to Mary. Tears ran down her cheeks, but she nodded. She loved you," Mary said softly. "She loved him. Always." The room felt still. Even the guests were quiet, sensing the weight of the moment. Daniel's pride, his anger, his grief, all of it melted away. He saw Grace's face tighten with impatience and disapproval. But he did not care. For the first time in months, Daniel understood that the richest things in life were not wealth, status, or appearances. They were moments like this. Moments where a child's memory spoke louder than any adult's lies. Moments where love, pure and unguarded, revealed the truth everyone else tried to hide. Ethan hummed along, the song wrapping around him like a warm embrace. Daniel realized that some love does not fade. It waits. It protects. It returns. And sometimes, it returns in the voice of a child who remembers what adults try to forget. The lullaby ended, but the room stayed quiet. Ethan's small head rested against Mary's shoulder, eyes wide and shining. He was calm now, but his trust in her was clear. Daniel felt his chest tighten as he watched. Grace's lips pressed into a thin line. Her hand gripped Daniel's arm. "Enough of this," she said, her voice sharp. "This is a house servant embarrassing everyone. She has no right to be here, and this story, this nonsense, must end." Daniel ignored her. He could not take his eyes off Mary. He could not look away from the woman who had brought back Anna's love to his son. And now he realized something important. Mary was more than a servant. She carried a part of his son's life that he had ignored for too long. He looked at her, his voice calm but steady. "Who are you really?" he asked. "Tell me why Ethan calls you Mama." Mary swallowed and stepped closer, but kept her distance, careful not to scare Ethan. "I am Mary," she began softly, "but I am also Anna's sister. Lena, your son's nanny. The one who loved him when you were away, when you were hurting, who cared for him when no one else could." Daniel's breath caught. The pieces began falling into place. the sleepless nights, the crying, the sudden absence of Anna. He remembered the gentle voice, the patient hands, the care that had gone unnoticed. He had blamed Anna's disappearance on life's circumstances, not realizing it had been deliberate. Mary continued. Anna, she loved Ethan like her own child. She never stopped loving him. And before she died, she asked me to make sure he was safe, to see him one last time. That's why I'm here. Ethan looked up at Daniel, then at Mary. He whispered again, Mama. Lena. Daniel's hands shook slightly. He felt shame, guilt, and sorrow hit all at once. He had let his pride, grief, and focus on appearances blind him to the love that had been protecting his son. He had let his mother's decisions erase the one person who had given Ethan care when he, Daniel, could not. Grace's face hardened. She's just a servant, she said coldly. She has no right to interfere in our family. Daniel shook his head slowly. No, he said firmly. This is not about titles or social status. This is about love. The kind of love you cannot buy, control, or command. My son knows it. And so do I. Mary's eyes glistened with tears. She stepped closer, and Ethan reached for her without hesitation. Daniel felt something shift inside him. The child, innocent and honest, had shown him a truth he could not ignore. The story of Anna, of Mary, and of Ethan's memory had revealed the cracks in the life he thought was perfect. For the first time, Daniel realized that the woman standing before him was not just his son's caretaker. She was the keeper of his son's heart. And she was telling the truth he had been too blind to see. Daniel felt his knees weaken slightly as he watched Ethan cling to Mary. The little boy's trust in her was complete, absolute. And in that moment, Daniel realized just how much he had missed. He thought back to the months after Linda died. The endless business trips. The late nights at the office. The meetings, the calls, the deals. All while Ethan grew up without the comfort of a father who truly saw him. He had believed money, protection, and presence in the house were enough. But they were not. Daniel's eyes filled with shame. He remembered how Anna, his son's beloved nanny, had loved Ethan with all her heart. She had been patient when he cried. She had soothed him when he woke at night. She had celebrated his first words and first steps. And yet, Daniel had done nothing to protect her place in their lives. His mother's decision to fire Anna had been enforced by his silence. He had let pride, grief, and convenience outweigh compassion. He had allowed his son's first source of love and security to be removed from his life. And now Mary, Anna's sister, stood in front of him, carrying the same love that had been denied before. Daniel swallowed hard. He felt the weight of every choice he had made. Every absence. Every missed moment. Every decision he had justified to himself. He took a deep breath and looked at Mary. I am so sorry, he said, his voice shaking. I am sorry for everything your sister went through. I am sorry for letting my grief blind me to the love that protected my son. I am sorry for allowing my pride and my mother's words to erase her from our lives. Mary's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. Ethan rested his head on her shoulder, calm now, safe in her arms. Daniel turned slowly to his mother. I should have asked questions. I should have seen what was right in front of me. I failed my son. I failed Anna. And I failed myself. Grace, who had been standing silently nearby, stepped forward. Daniel, this is ridiculous. You're letting a house help dictate your family's life, she said sharply. But Daniel no longer cared. He realized that Grace's values, her view of love and loyalty, were not aligned with the life he wanted for his son. He could not let pride, appearances, or fear dictate the truth anymore. Daniel took a step toward Mary and Ethan. He knelt down to Ethan's level, tears threatening to fall. I will never let this happen again, he promised. I will see you, Ethan. I will protect you. And I will honor the love that Anna gave you, no matter what. For the first time in years, Daniel felt a kind of clarity he had never known. He had been blind, distracted by success and grief. Now, seeing his son safe in the arms of someone who truly loved him, he understood what it meant to be a father. And he knew deep down that he would spend the rest of his life making it right. Daniel remained on his knees, his eyes still fixed on Ethan. The child looked back at him with innocent trust, as if waiting for the next truth to be spoken. In that moment, Daniel understood that love did not always come from blood or titles. It came from presence, care, and sacrifice. He stood up slowly and faced Mary. He thanked her for keeping her sister's promise. He thanked her for walking back into a place that once rejected her family. He thanked her for loving his son when loving him brought pain. Mary shook her head gently. She said she did not come for gratitude. She came for closure. She came because love does not abandon a child. Daniel felt tears finally fall. He turned to Grace. His voice was calm but firm. He said he could not continue the engagement. He said he needed a partner who understood compassion, not control. He said his son's heart mattered more than appearances. Grace protested. She said he was making a mistake. She said emotions would ruin everything he built. Daniel did not argue. He simply said the engagement was over. He turned to his mother next. He said there would be boundaries. He said decisions about his child would no longer be made without him. He said love would not be treated as weakness in his home again. His mother said nothing. She understood this was not a moment to challenge him. Daniel then walked back to Mary and Ethan. He knelt again and spoke gently. He told Mary she did not have to leave. He said she was welcome to stay, not as staff, but as family if she wanted. He said anyone who loved his son the way Anna did deserved a place in his life. Mary hesitated. She said she never planned to stay. She only wanted Ethan to know he was loved. Daniel nodded. He said love was exactly what his son needed. He said they could figure out the rest together. Ethan smiled. He wrapped his small arms around Mary's neck and rested his head on her shoulder. "You stay," he said simply. "Sing song." Mary looked at Daniel. He nodded. "I promise," she whispered to Ethan. As people quietly began to leave, Daniel stayed where he was. He watched his son in Mary's arms. He felt peace settle in his heart for the first time in a long while. He learned that day that family is not only defined by blood. It is defined by who stays, who loves, who chooses a child when it is hardest. And in Abuja, a broken family found healing, not through wealth or pride, but through the simple truth spoken by a child who never forgot love. And that's the end of today's tale. We hope it brought a smile, a thought, or a little bit of magic to your day. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to Tales Vibe for more weekly tales, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our story family all around the world. Until next time, keep your heart open, your imagination alive, and remember, laughter and lessons always go hand in hand. See you in the next story.